Hello everyone, happy World Constitution Day. Today we celebrate our shared commitment to written constitutions, constitutionalism, and the global constitutional community. First and foremost, I'm deeply grateful to the administrative staff and constitutional advisors involved in the establishment of the International Constitution Center. I am especially grateful to Jim Shearer for inviting me to participate in this year's World Constitution Day, and also to serve as an advisor to the International Constitutional Initiative, International Constitution Center project. My name is Hassan. I'm a researcher in the field of constitutional law, especially political philosophy of constitution and comparative constitutional law. And I'm also a lecturer in constitutional law and European Union law at British International University in the Kurdistan region of Iraq. Today, I'll speak on the topic, the Constitution as a philosophical achievement, an introduction to the philosophical background of constitutions. This presentation is based on part of my PhD dissertation, which was written in Kurdish language about the philosophical background of constitution. When I teach constitutional law at the university, I usually use Socratic method. I begin by asking two fundamental questions. First, why do we need a constitution? Second, is a constitution just made by politicians, or is it based on philosophical ideas? Is there any philosophical background of the Constitution? So regarding the first question, why do we need constitution? Why do we need constitutional government within framework of basic laws? I believe the best answer comes from one of the founding fathers of the United States Constitution, U.S. Constitution, James Madison, which wrote in Federalist paper, "If men were angels, no government would be necessary. If angels were to govern men, neither external or internal control on government would be necessary." James Madison's insight into human nature is both profound and essential. Personally, I greatly admire to the U.S. constitutional founding fathers, the vision of the founding father of the U.S. Constitution, especially James Madison and Thomas Jefferson. If we examine Madison's philosophy closely, we find that he held a rather negative view of human nature. He believed that when people gain political power, they often act in their own interests rather than common good or public interest. In his view, power creates a tendency towards tyranny. This understanding was influenced to some extent by the political philosophy of Thomas Hobbes in Leviathan. Therefore, Madison believed that a well-designed constitution is essential to prevent the abusive power and the rise of tyranny, despotism, or dictatorship. This view of political power is strongly reflected in the famous statement by English historian Lord Acton, when he said, "Power tends to corrupt, and absolute power corrupts absolutely." This remains highly relevant today as we continue to witness the rise of charismatic populist leaders, dictatorship regimes around the world. So without a democratic constitution that limits political power, and without a system of check and balance between branches of government, as advocated by Montesquieu, Charles Montesquieu, power can easily lead to corruption and tyranny. Regarding second question, is a constitution just made by politicians, or is it based on deep philosophical idea? Is there philosophical background of the constitution or not? Regarding the relationship between constitution and political philosophy, there's a Professor Donald Regan, an expert in the constitutional law and political philosophy at the University of Michigan, writes, the Constitution is one of the great achievements of political philosophy, and it may be the only political achievement of philosophy in our society. Consequently, there is a profound and great connection between political philosophy and constitutional law. Most of essential concepts and terms found within a constitution are the direct product of the political thought, political philosophy. For instance, ideas such as principles like popular sovereignty, state sovereignty, the forms of government and its political system, as well as fundamental rights, natural rights, and public freedoms. The primary tasks of the philosophy has always been theorized these concepts. Therefore, to gain a better and deeper understanding of the true essence and function of the Constitution, it is vital to understand political philosophy of the Constitution. We must familiar with the philosophical thesis, with the philosophical notion of the ancient Greeks such as Plato, Aristotle, Enlightenment philosophers, modern philosophers, especially Charles Montesquieu, Jean-Jacques Rousseau, Immanuel Kant. In terms of the influence and reflection of philosophy on modern constitutions, the best example is U.S. Constitution, the United States Constitution, influenced by the political philosophy of Plato, Aristotle, John Locke, Montesquieu, and several other philosophers. The founding fathers of the U.S. Constitution presented a modern constitution to the American people, which later served as an inspiration for other nations. To understand the impact of political philosophy of founding fathers, on the founding fathers, U.S. founding fathers, I think this research, the work of Andrew Rick, entitled The Philosophical Background of American Constitutions, which was published by Cambridge University Press, is one of the most important contributions in this field. So that's why I highly recommend it to my colleague, to my students sometime to read this article. Moreover, it is not only the American Constitution, the French Declaration of the Rights of Man and Citizen, which is part of French constitutional bloc and French constitutional system, was deeply influenced by Jean-Jacques Rousseau and Voltaire, Jean-Jacques Rousseau and Montesquieu, especially Jean-Jacques Rousseau and separation of power by Montesquieu. In fact, some articles of the declaration, when you read, you can see the influence of Rousseau and on this document. Also, furthermore, we have Immanuel Kant. Immanuel Kant's philosophy of human dignity is fully mirrored in Article 1. We can see the influence of Immanuel Kant, the notion of dignity, understanding of human dignity, on the Article 1 of the German Basic Law. So Article 1 of German Basic Law becoming the very soul of the German constitutional order. Hence, we conclude that constitutions are not just a collection of lifeless provision or article drafted easily by politicians. Rather, they are the products of deep meditation and study and theorize through the theoretical framework of philosophers. Therefore, without a profound, comprehensive of political philosophy, I think we can never truly understand or grasp the essence of constitutional law in our life. Thank you very much for your time. I hope I have given you a brief overview of the political philosophy of constitutions.